So, more news coming out of Iowa. The corruption doesn't stop. The Iowa Democratic Party have all of a sudden corrected the results and given more delegates to Pete Buttigieg than Bernie Sanders. If you guys remember, it was very close. They both had, at the end of the day, 11 delegates, okay? 11 for Bernie, 11 for Pete Buttigieg. Now, Pete Buttigieg has 14 delegates and Bernie has 12. Can someone explain this to me, how you get 6,000 more votes, but you end up with less delegates? How is that democratic in any way? Let's read the article, and then I'm also going to show you a clip, a statement from the Bernie campaign. It is so, this whole debacle is just, it keeps getting more corrupt and more loathsome by the day. So this is from the New York Times. And they say here that nearly a full week after the Iowa caucuses, the state Democratic Party on Sunday released results indicating that Pete Buttigieg was the winner after it updated data from 55 precincts. But errors in the result tabulations have led several news organizations, including the New York Times, to refrain from calling the race. The Associated Press, which historically verifies election results and makes calls on the outcome of races, has not allotted the final delegate to Mr. Buttigieg because of the errors in the caucus. So what's interesting here is that not just the New York Times, but also the Associated Press, despite these new allocated delegates, these new results, the New York Times and the Associated Press and even NBC News refuse to call Pete Buttigieg the winner. You must be doing something really, really shady for mainstream corporate news outlets to not side with you, okay? If you're rigging the election and the New York Times and the Associated Press and NBC News are like, yo, we ain't calling it, you are really going too far. Need I say more? The party's re-examination did not change earlier projections that Mr. Buttigieg led in the count of national delegates, but it moved one more into his column. The party said that Mr. Buttigieg had received 14 delegates, Bernie Sanders took 12, Senator Elizabeth Warren earned 8, and Vice President Joe Biden 6, Amy Klobuchar got 1. When you understand what's going on here, it's going to blow your mind. Okay. Internal Iowa Democratic Party emails over the weekend revealed that although the party was taking a second look at some problematic precincts, close to 5% of the total, it would not fix errors that occurred on the official handwritten tally sheets from precincts. Those records are known as caucus math worksheets. The party only corrected discrepancies between the data as recorded on the worksheets and what was officially reported in public releases of the results. So let me reiterate, let me explain this for those of you who aren't really getting what they're saying here. So at the caucus, when it's happening, the precinct captain writes down the results on the caucus math worksheet, all right? And even though some precinct captains made mistakes, i.e. wrote down wrong or false numbers, they're not correcting them. What they are correcting is what's been reported between a precinct captain calling the Iowa Democratic Party or on public releases. Do you understand? So when the Iowa Democratic Party released figures, they then recalled some of them and then they corrected them and said like, oh, no, we released 62% and then 71%. No, but actually we're retracting 1% of the results. So just putting out false results and then recalling some of them, those they're correcting, those results, stuff that they've published. But they're not going to correct the actual votes that were written down wrongly or rigged. Who cares what you published? Give us the real votes. Hold on, it gets worse. The party could not change even blatant miscalculations on the worksheets, according to a lawyer for the party, because they were a legal record and altering them would be a crime. The incorrect math on the caucus math worksheets must not be changed to ensure the integrity of the process, wrote the party lawyer, Shayla McCormley. The lawyer said correcting the math would introduce personal opinion into the official record of results. What? How is correcting math a personal opinion? It's literally math. It's science. Look at this nonsense. So what they're saying basically here is that these caucus math worksheets where they write down the results at the caucus, you can't touch them because they're legal documents. And if you touch them, if you correct the math, so you could write down 2 + 2 = 5 and you're not allowed to correct that because it's a legal document. Hello? This is a democracy? This is an election? This is what you call voting? No, I'm sorry. This is nonsense. This is a circus. This is corruption. That's what this is. And it reminds me very much of when the DNC was sued after they cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. And what came out in court, the final decision was that, the DNC is allowed to rig their own primaries because they're a corporation. They're really creative, these lawyers. They really are. You got to hand it to them. It's unbelievable, when you can write the laws, you're like, Citizens United, Buckley versus Vallejo. When you can do things like this, you can really bend the law to your will. Do it whatever you want, man. They're very creative. I got to hand it to them. Unbelievable. So the DNC is a corporation. They're allowed to cheat and rig their own primaries. You can't sue them. And now these caucus math worksheets, you can't touch them. You can write down blatant miscalculations. You can write down 1 + 1 = 15. You can give votes to candidates that didn't earn them. Doesn't matter. What you write down is final. Unbelievable. I really have no words. It's truly fascinating the extent that they will go to rig this thing. The app trickling out the results to make Pete Buttigieg gain momentum, which is having an effect in New Hampshire now as well. So this is going beyond just Iowa. And now this, where they refuse to correct falsified records, math that makes no sense. I mean, this is dystopian. It's really like something out of 1984. Unbelievable. It's really crazy that Bernie Sanders won the popular vote, and yet it means nothing. It has no basis, no weight in reality, according to their rules. This is what is so mind-boggling. Like, how can you deny this at the end of the day? The guy had 6,000 more votes than Pete Buttigieg. He is the winner. What happened to one person, one vote? He's the winner. What is this math? What is this worksheets? What are these delegates? Who needs all of this? These are just roadblocks. These are just obstacles that they put in place on purpose to disenfranchise voters, to cheat, to rig, to game the system. That's all it is. There is no excuse for this stuff in this day and age. Zero. No excuse. You call this a democracy? In addition, caucus captains for individual candidates photographed the worksheets in their precincts and shared them internally with their campaign. Those photographs provided further examples of problems. The most blatant were errors in adding up votes for candidates, which take place in 2 rounds, and miscalculations when using a formula that translates raw votes to state delegate equivalents. Again, more nonsense, more roadblocks, more, things to further complicate the entire democratic process. Absolutely useless. The fact that you have this first round, then a second round, then you have state delegates who then pick the national delegates. I mean, why do you need all of this? What is so bad about having one person, one vote? It really infuriates me. But because the caucus chair and secretary of each precinct had certified the results on the worksheets, along with representatives of candidates, the documents could not be readjusted without violating election law, the state party lawyer said. It is the legal voting record of the caucus, like a ballot. The seriousness of the record is made clear by the language at the bottom stating that any misrepresentation of the information is a crime. Therefore, any changes or tampering with the sheet could result in a claim of election interference or misconduct. Yeah, on your behalf. You want to talk about transparency and misconduct and rigging and falsifying the record? Just look no further than the IDP and the DNC. They wrote the game, baby. This is what they do best. Now, I'm going to show you the statement from Faiz Shakir, Bernie Sanders campaign manager. He went on CNN and he talked about all of this. Let's take a look.
There this hour. That's the opening act there, warming up the crowd. This comes after breaking news out of Iowa. After a nearly a week-long delay, Pete Buttigieg is getting the most delegates, and Sanders comes in second. This is a report just out from the Iowa Democratic Party. Let's get right now to get some reaction on this from Faiz Shakir. He's the campaign manager for the Bernie Sanders 2020 presidential campaign. Faiz, thank you so much for joining us, especially on a short notice. The first question I have for you, Faiz, is
thank you,
we're in a situation now where your campaign Yep. Yeah, your campaign still has the ability to ask for a canvass of even specific precincts, as I understand it, by 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. Do you plan on doing that, given the results that we saw here tonight?
Yes, Ryan, you can expect us to be asking the Iowa Democratic Party for a recanvass of the discrepancies that we have identified and found for them. We will be searching for and identifying even more. It's been handled incompetently from our perspective, and we will be asking them to take a look at some of these obvious discrepancies that have affected our count. And I think after it's all said and done, it should be the case that we have the same number of national delegates as Pete Buttigieg. So we'll see how this plays out, Ryan, but you can expect some action from the Sanders campaign tomorrow.
All right. I wonder, Faz, and that is an important piece of news that you've shared with us, that you do plan to do some sort of challenge to the results. But do you think that this matters to New Hampshire voters? I mean, you're at a rally right now. How many New Hampshire voters are asking Senator Sanders or any of their campaign members about how, the results in Iowa? Does it matter at this point?
Yeah, not many. There's 2,000 people in that room. They don't really care. They think they know that we won with 6,000 plus votes in Iowa. But you're asking me the question about what's going on with the Iowa results, so I'm telling you an honest answer. And the truth of the matter is, Ryan, that we want to fight for every delegate that this campaign has earned. And if we feel like we have been wrongly stopped from earning those delegates, we're going to fight for them. And that's our job.
So he goes on to talk a bit more about Bernie Sanders going after Pete Buttigieg during the last debates we had on ABC, where he called him out for having 40 plus billionaire donors. I have a video on that coming in a bit, so we'll go into that in more detail afterwards. But in regards to this new delegate count, I mean, I found that so hilarious when the anchor on CNN is asking him, like, do you think it really matters though? Like, what do you mean? Of course it matters. What the hell is kind of a question is that? I really don't understand where this guy gets off, like just kind of dismissing, like, it doesn't matter though. Like, do you really need them delegates? You got cheated. It doesn't matter. Like, why would you care, bro? What? Would you ask that? Do you think he would have asked that to Pete Buttigieg? You already know the answer. So as Faiz Shakir said, today, until 1 p.m. noon, Bernie Sanders campaign, they can go to the IDP and they can submit a protest, a claim against this new count. Now, going back to the night of the caucus, you guys remember Bernie Sanders actually made his own app for him to count the votes separately, because you can't trust the DNC. You can't trust the Iowa Democratic Party to do things democratically. Okay? It's really funny. They have the word democratic in the name, and everything they do is the complete opposite of anything democratic. It's really like some newspeak, doublespeak. It's really funny. So it's a good thing that Bernie Sanders counted the votes himself, because you can actually go now and say, yo, our records don't match what you're reporting here. What is this? And rightfully so, because we know that they're rigging the thing. I'm not going to go into detail about all of this. Go watch the video about how Pete Buttigieg rigged the Iowa caucus. But we know that there's foul play. There's been too many things, and this is just the latest one of them. And again, I'm not going to stop saying this. The guy, Bernie Sanders, won by 6,000 more votes. How the hell does he have less delegates? It just makes no sense. It's really a system that is designed to screw people. Now, I don't think that anything is going to come of this, to be honest, of Bernie Sanders' campaign going and appealing this decision to allocate further delegates to Pete Buttigieg. You know why? Because the whole party is corrupt. I don't think they're going to reverse their decision. Honestly, given how much they screwed this up, how much they've rigged it, the whole thing should either be reheld or canceled. I mean, if you think that there is a shred of legitimacy to this whole circus here, if you think that this is in any way democratic, what happened, I have no words for you. Even though you could say that, okay, this has been already a week since Iowa, we're seeing the results of them rigging this thing in New Hampshire, because before Bernie Sanders was leading by like 15 points in New Hampshire, and now Pete Buttigieg is trailing him by just like 2-3%. How do you think that happened? Media influence. I mean, I saw a video from Status Coup where he was interviewing Pete Buttigieg supporters lining up to see Mayor Pete, and none of them were there because of policy. They're there because they like the way he speaks. And how do they get that coverage? How do you think some unknown mayor from South Bend, Indiana came into their television screens because of stuff like this, because of the rigging, because of the trickling of results. He gets exposure that way. Oh, Mayor Pete Buttigieg is in the lead. Based on what? The results aren't even out yet. When you bombard people like that for a few days, it has an effect. Once again, that's the whole job of the media, propaganda. So it has had a negative impact, and it has been to the detriment of Bernie Sanders. Yes, not just is he losing now with the delegates, but also with the hype. Okay, so he got denied his victory speech, even though he won the popular vote. He got denied the legitimacy of an actual election. And now also he's neck and neck almost with Pete Buttigieg in the polls in New Hampshire. So yes, this is going beyond Iowa. This is having a ripple effect. But anyway, I just wanted to report to you on this about how they are rigging the election once again. It really amazes me how the whole process is designed from the ground up to be riggable at any stage. You know, they can lie about the votes. They can make an app and not disclose who made it and the conflict of interest. They can rig the results, write down complete falsehoods, make up math, literally. I mean, defying physics, and then declare it to be legal and something that you cannot touch, which is above all. I mean, it's really dystopian, truly. So I'm really hoping tomorrow Bernie Sanders pulls a huge win in New Hampshire, because this rat, Pete Buttigieg, and his nefarious tactics, this whole rigging, the whole system is too much, man. It's too much. And like Faiz Shakir said, they earned those delegates. Okay? Bernie Sanders earned those delegates. So don't come along now and try to take them away after everything that you've done. All right? So good luck to Bernie.